Welcome to the Big Roofs podcast, the podcast where we talk about big roofs and other stuff as well. We're your hosts, John and AJ. Let's get started. John, I know you're feeling a little under the weather, so I appreciate you soldiering through.
Pills
Uh,
are good. Pills are really good. This is where you cue the scene from Dumb and Dumber. Pills are good.
so we're gonna keep this probably a little shorter today, but I still have an opening question for you here. Opening question is, what is your biggest motivator in business?
Ooh, good question. I like to think that it's provide for my family, all that stuff, and it is. That's a motivator to make sure that there's an actual roof over people's heads. People are clothed, they're fed. I feel like I think that a lot, but I think it's really for me. I find a lot of purpose in growing businesses, and it makes me feel like I'm contributing, and I want to contribute positively to the world. So whether that's providing a good place for people to work or a good service, that's why 5-star reviews are so important to me. It's not just to grow the business, but I like to get positive feedback for all of our businesses. So I want people to actually benefit in our mastermind with Dave Sullivan. I want people to actually their businesses change and be a community podcast for the Roofer Show. That's same way. Um,
I've always
Obviously,
sort of I've always liked that about you, and like I feel like that's something that's always drawn me is how much you're focused on. Like you're, it's very clear that you are personally rewarded by that process of helping other people.
yeah, it's my driver. It's definitely my driver. Like I money is a thing. I want to grow wealth, but I really like helping people. I've said that even in high school, middle school. I say people would ask me what I'm going to do. I don't know. I have landscape businesses that I like to help people. So yeah,
I like it.
it's pretty much it.
I like it. Guess I'll answer as well since that's not specific to roofing. Um, I would say my biggest motivator is, I mean, it's not that I'm not rewarded by helping people. I definitely would say that, but I think it's a little different. For me, it's all about freedom. And I think everyone has a different definition of freedom, but my definition of freedom is just the ability to live or die by my own actions. So I have always been frustrated. I've very much tried for a long time in my life to work jobs and go down a more traditional route. And I would just constantly butt heads with people above me because I felt like I saw problems and I wanted to fix them. And it frustrated me that I felt like things were going poorly because of somebody else's decision and not mine, or something that I didn't have any control over. So for me, it's about that freedom to fail or win based on my own actions and decision making. That's definitely my biggest driver. That's what gets me up in the morning, gets me to keep working.
Yep, it's definitely top three for me too. I've said that exact, very similar phrase a couple times in the past week. Just I'd rather fail completely on my own shoulders than have to be reliant on someone else.
Yeah. Yep. All right. So we have that. What do you think about the, it's something I'm excited for. We just got a table for the Dimitri Lee height fight for ProLine. So we're gonna have at least four of us there. We might have additional people in the general admission as well, but you may be there. I'll be there. We'll see if other members of the team want to go and or possibly significant others. But we do have a table, so we're super excited about that. What do you think about this whole like, we obviously we're friends with Dimitri, so we support Dimitri, but what do you just think in general about like roofers having grudge matches?
Um, I'm more indifferent to it. I know Dimitri pretty well. Um, and for him personally, like I want it for him because if it's something that's driving him just to be in, I think it's for men, most men, having a challenge like that where you can actually get significantly hurt in a real fight is something I think is within a lot of people. So I really am happy for him for that. Like as far as the grudge match between like the clowns versus in the roofing space versus people that are trying to do it right. I typically just ignore um clowns in general or just people that are not upstanding. So it's my I don't feel the need to expose people or fight people. I'm just going to do my thing and be successful in what I do. And we do that in our sales presentations. We
But
show the positives and the negatives of like good and bad roofing companies. But that's as far as I'll go.
so you're saying if somebody else in the roofing space challenged you to a boxing match and said, this is not even it's someone that you really dislike, you think is a poor representative of our space, and they're challenging you to a boxing match, that wouldn't tempt you?
That's not even close to tempting me. If it was my
We would
family,
turn it down.
I would. If it was my family, I would do everything to destroy them.
What do you, what
It's
if you,
not,
your wait, if it was a family member challenging it? I'm confused. What
no,
do you
if
say?
they were threatening my family, then I would do everything I could to come just short of killing them.
What if they're
But just
threatening your friends, your business?
I wouldn't. It's nothing. I mean, it's not the same thing. It's not my. It's not my. Our reputation for my business is on our own 2 feet. People want to threaten. There's nothing to really threaten. We have high integrity. So if they want to threaten it, and people have, I mean, this is not a new thing for me. People have definitely threatened my business. People, competitors have run Google ads with my name on their URL.
Oh, that's not it's not threat. Everybody does that. I mean, I guess it's frowned upon in a local roofing environment, but
Sure.
I mean, that's that's like a standard Google Ads practice. I wouldn't call that threatening, but
Well,
I get your
tell me
point.
more threatening thing than that. Like what take like actively taking our business from ads. Like I
I
don't.
mean, I feel like that's just being competitive, but I mean, I'm talking about I don't know. It's hard for me to come up with a scenario, but
I mean,
I'm
if you're
trying to
gonna
think of a
threaten my
scenario that would
physical,
pressure you into taking a fight.
not really nothing. I mean, I train jujitsu. I do CrossFit. I do. I feel like I've definitely knocked people out before. I don't know what. I'm not a fighter. I'm not gonna go looking for a fight, but I'm gonna do my best to protect myself and my
You've never
family.
looked for a fight in your life?
No. It's always reactive. When I've knocked somebody out, it's been one punch knockout because of a
Really?
reaction.
When was that?
It's happened twice. I'm a defender. There's a personality type test. I'm a defender, and I'm very empathetic when it comes to like people that are weaker. So if I see a strong individual, um, not just bullying, but going beyond bullying, a weaker individual, I just see red, and that's just two times I've definitely knocked somebody out. One other time I just punched them. Um, yeah, if I feel like there's injustice, then I will take action.
Hmm. So I think that's the thing here is like, what if you felt like there was injustice going on and somebody was like, hey, you know, someone was perpetrating this towards people you care about,
Mm-hmm.
and they're like, you know what, I'll legally agree that I'll lay off whatever it is I'm doing if you beat me in a fight, in a boxing match or a
It's
MMA
not the
match.
same thing. It's not the same thing.
What
Like
do you mean it's not the same thing?
legally, that's no.
No,
They need
they're like, I'll sign a contract. I will not do this thing if I lose this fight.
you
You
got
can
to be
do
more
that.
specific. You got to be more specific because it's got to be actually hurting people that I care about.
Yeah. Well, let's make the assumption that they are.
It's that's not the same thing how my brain works. I don't care. Like I'm just gonna be like, look, there's bad people in the world. There's always gonna be bad people in the world. If we fought everyone who did this that was wronging us, we would just fight all the time. And I have better things to do with my time and my day. And I want to set an example for my boys and my daughter and my wife. Like we don't want to just fight we want to protect the weak, but not necessarily fight for the just the sake of fighting.
No, I
That
agree. I'm trying to create a scenario here where it is defending and not just fighting for the sake of fighting. But I
but that
mean,
doesn't that's why I don't really care so much about the Dimitri Lee fight because I don't see the connection.
you don't see the
I
connection. You don't
no,
think that it seems to me from what Dimitri's been putting out that he seems to see his involvement in this as defending people that have been scammed, that have been
yeah.
hurt.
I agree with what he's doing online with YouTube. He's actually damaging, he's actually injuring Lee in a positive way to help people that were damaged by Lee. So he's defending the weak, which I love. But the fight, the physical fight, doesn't actually translate in my mind because it's just that becomes an individual experience. Like you're damaging. Yeah, there's people that Lee's said a bunch of bad stuff. I'm sure Dimitri said something that's been disrespectful, but that's not the same. Those are two different scenarios in my mind. If it's something that he wants to do personally, then do it, support it.
I mean, I feel like there's something deep down in our DNA. There's something symbolic about
Totally agree. Totally
that
agree.
physical conflict, and it's like I feel like it does represent something. I feel like that my perspective on the Dimitri Lehigh fight is that there is significance there, and there is something symbolic. It will if Lehigh challenge, I believe Lehigh challenged Dimitri, from my understanding,
Multiple times, yeah.
multiple
And
times.
he
Yeah,
just never expected him to
if
actually take him
Dimitri's backs down from that, it doesn't accept it. That does, like it or not, undermine Dimitri's arguments and ability to attack to attack him online, because there will be a portion of people who might have been affected by what's being posted in those videos that are then going to discount what Dimitri is saying because, oh, Dimitri was too chicken to take that fight, right? Even if it's subconscious, right? It's not
Sure.
necessarily even a conscious thing. Whereas on the other side, Dimitri, even if he loses, just being willing to step into that ring lends a lot of legitimacy. And again, I don't even think it's necessarily a conscious thing. I just think that it's deep down in our DNA that we have a greater respect for someone who's willing to step into that physical conflict to stand up for what they believe. I see something there that's meaningful and symbolic, even if it's like. So I don't know. That's where I see the connection, because you're talking about the connection. That's where I see
Mhm.
the connection.
Because I know Dimitri pretty well, my level of respect for him does not increase or decrease by him going into a fight. It's an entertainment thing for me. Yeah, I want to see him destroy Lee from an entertainment perspective, but from the roofing industry, it doesn't matter to me. And his impact for making a positive um making a positive impact for the roofing industry doesn't change in my mind whether he wins or loses. He is still going to put out the same. He's a very disciplined individual. He's going to train harder than Lee will ever train. He's going to be very focused. He's going to be unemotional, and he's most likely going to win because Lee's going to get emotional about it. And that's fine. That's great. Dimitri will win. It'll be fun to watch that. It will be fun. But that's the extent of it.
Really
That
extended
one,
it in your perspective.
yeah, that's it.
All right. Well, let's move on. So let's talk about this is a big shift, but we wanted to talk about it today. Talk about the I actually, it's not entirely a shift, because I feel like a lot of the stuff around Lee Height is around paying his past sales reps. A lot of
Yep.
those people that were scammed were people that worked for him as sales reps. So like with that in mind, what do you feel? So there's common model, right? It's the 10 or how is it break
Called
down?
10-50-50.
10 50 50. Yeah. So yeah. 10% goes to overhead, and then you split the rest.
The
Is that how
profit.
it works?
Yeah, the profit 50-50.
You split
That's
the
right.
profit 50 50. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, what is your thoughts on that? Like, what are your thoughts on that as a model for paying sales reps?
This is a super common topic. I've had a lot of discussions about this. So it's not something I probably had 20 conversations about this. So DT Roofing, Randy Hurtado is super well respected. He runs this model to my knowledge, and it's very successful. I'm fairly certain they're north of 20 million for all 5 businesses. He does it really well. There's very few people that can do that long term. You can do it short term, maybe 1 season or 2 seasons, but for the most part, people don't know their numbers well enough that they should not be modeling their sales reps getting paid like that.
Do you think that's an issue with the, so are you saying, and you think that's an issue with the model, or is it that they don't track their numbers? Is it the model is good if you have amazing tracking of your numbers, or is it like is there a deeper problem with the model, or is it just that people don't track their numbers?
There's not a deeper problem with the model necessarily. So you can look at a lot of different data factors with like cost of living, average job size, average gross profit per job that you're splitting up. If also like size of the business, amount of overhead, is the overhead really 10% or is it more than 10%? Like there's nothing necessarily wrong with the model, but in general, most people are not going to be basically qualified to use that model. Or should be using that model. I would put my own business in that category. You have to be at a certain revenue stream for based on how much your cost of living is, how many. Another huge thing is revenue per capita. So how much revenue you're producing per person that's not an installer in your business. There's a lot of factors going on that make it not a good model for most people's roofing business in general, because there's so many variables that people don't actually know.
Yeah. Do you feel like, so this is like maybe a little insight into how you and I talk about day to day. We're going to do a little bit of this recorded. So this is what happens. This is exactly what happens. John talks about an issue in his business or something that's not working the way he wants it to. And that's not specifically what he's saying right now, but you're saying that you can't make this 50-50 model or 50-50-10 model work in your business because you just don't have that level of tracking in your business and you feel like it's safer not to. Now, let me ask you this. Do you feel like we could make changes or improvements to ProLine to when it comes to the business analytics piece and the number tracking inside of ProLine to give you the numbers that you need to run that 10-50-50 system and have it be better than what you're doing now?
I think this is coming down to more of a philosophical approach too. There's not just the data part of things, it's more the philosophical thing. So like if you have a sales rep who's taken it from cradle to grave, as they say, so they're handling the entire job, I can see giving someone 10-50-50 split. That's going to be somewhere. I mean, most people's profit margins, it could be 40% of all their profit for the entire company for that one person. That's too much equity essentially in the business for having that one role. Now, if you have marketing, if you had administration, if you have accounting, if you have production management, and they're only that one little piece, the sales part, if they're taking over two, it's kind of getting in there like they could take out, if you take 5 parts of every business, and Dimitri's covered this too, but a lot of people have covered that each part should be closer to 20% of the value of the business. You have to have accounting, it's 20%. You have to have administration. You have to have somebody answer the phone, doing all the paperwork. All those things should equal 20% each. It shouldn't be like, well, if you don't make a sale, nothing happens. That is true, but the marketing and administration and accounting and all the other stuff together makes you profitable to make those sales happen. So that, with that being said, I think that people get it wrong with the idea that sales are everything. That's the problem, because they don't focus on the other things, and then they don't pay their insurance correctly. They don't pay their taxes correctly. They don't have anyone answering the phone. Like there's so many problems because they don't invest in those other things.
We've talked about this before. So we've talked about I call them roofing clubs. Is like these companies that it's an owner who's really just the club leader who has then a bunch of sales reps that are taking everything from cradle to grave that are functionally running their own businesses.
That's
Everyone's
right.
tracking their own stuff. Everyone's completely independent. When it goes to production, they're managing production. They're also generating their own leads because they're door knocking and or doing others, buying their own mailers and stuff like that. So the owner is not actually doing any marketing, any management of the numbers of the business. And I mean, in my mind, that's not a business. Like, that's a club. If that's how you're running your business.
Correct. It's not saleable asset at all. Anyone can just break off and start their own business. And it's fine. Like, if people want to make income that way, I have no problem them having a job, but it's not a real business whenever you have that structure most of the time.
Yeah. So if you're does that work? So, well, I mean, I guess let's talk about the pros and cons. It's not necessarily that's a terrible model. It's like what you're saying. It's, are you trying to build an asset with value? So like a business asset that can be possibly sold later on. And I think this is, I mean, I don't know if you have direct contact, but I've had direct contact with several and gotten to know several different roofing businesses that have been purchased by private equity, that have sold their business, successfully sold their business, which is what a lot of roofers would like to do. They'd like to build something valuable enough to sell it and walk away from it. So I've seen the inside of some of these businesses, and they're exactly what you're saying. None of them are doing this cradle to grave roofing club model. They're all, with their sales reps, do one thing and one thing only, and they work the leads. And those leads are mostly coming from the marketing efforts of the overall company. So the company is generating, and they might still do some door knocking, if they have extra time, but it's primarily leads coming through marketing of the business that are then getting funneled down into the specific sales reps who are then selling it. And then it's being passed off to production managers, to inside sales reps, to the billing department, like having that breakdown of responsibilities, which also makes it a lot less likely, or it just doesn't open up for that risk of one of your sales reps as much, at least, going off and just starting their own thing because they're functionally running their own thing already.
Yep.
So yeah, interesting. So, well, let's wrap this up with this. So what in your mind, we just talked trash about this whole model. Like, what model do you feel like most companies should be using when it comes to paying their sales reps?
I think you need to know your numbers first. And
well, let's assume that you don't really know that maybe you kind of know your numbers.
No, you got to know it because okay, let's just say this. You need to know your average job size, and you need to know your average gross profit per job. If you don't know that, then it's just going to be literally impossible for you to actually have any kind of intelligent decision to pay sales reps. If you're only making $2,500 a roof, or you don't know that you're only making $2,500 a roof, then it's just a recipe for disaster. You'll feel like you're making money because your revenue's coming in, but then you won't be able to pay your bills within 6 months, 3 months, whatever the time is, if you have a storm or whatever it is. I think that's just it. You have to know your numbers first. I've said this again.
So you got to know your numbers.
Know your numbers first. Yep.
So then what is the model there? How do you pay this? How do you pay the
what I do is I pay 10% of revenue. And the only way I'm able to do that is because we have systems in place that protect the gross profit on every job. So the estimates are getting written. So they're not having to write estimates.
Some of those systems are in ProLine.
They're all everything's in ProLine because so very few people are involved, but there are very complicated systems involved too that just help over and over and over again to make that sales rep's life way easier. Like, they don't have to go collect physical checks unless the customer really wants it. Like, accounting's taking care of all that. Tisha's like, there's so many things
just focused on that piece.
We're making that sales rep. You get 10% of the revenue. These are your list of things you need to do. It is technically cradle to grave. However, we're taking care, like, the team is taking care of a lot of that work for each sales rep.
Yeah. So So a flat percentage on revenue, which is honestly a much simpler approach anyway.
Yep.
Yeah. And
Makes it
just
easy
like
for
it makes it
accounting,
easy
and
for
they
everybody
get
to know.
excited because and like also this. Let's say this: if they do upsells they're less driven by upselling and forcing different upsells on a customer. It's better for the homeowner actually, because they're like, I don't care if you choose the $12,000 roof or the $14,000 roof. I'm gonna make 12 or $1,400. I don't care between the two. Like I just want to help you, and that's a huge deal, because I don't want my sales reps to be having what's called commission breath. I want them
Oh
to be
yeah.
advocates.
Well, yeah, and I guess in that more traditional model, a lot of those upgrades and stuff are high profit.
They're
So
high profit, so they're
pushing
like,
it.
yep, they're like, okay, well, lifetime pipe boots, that's like 70-80% profit, so we're going to make more money. It could be hundreds of
Commission's
dollars
different.
more. Mm-hmm.
Okay, cool. Well, let's wrap this up. We're at our final question. What are you looking forward to this week? It doesn't have to be in roofing. Just what are you looking
You asked me
forward to?
that again. I'm looking forward to not being sick. That's what I'm looking forward to.
There you go. That's a good thing to look forward to. Well, no, last week was different. I asked what non-business or roofing related thing are you looking forward to? So you actually answered that correctly this week. But okay, good. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I hope you get over that quickly and are feeling better. So that makes sense.
How about you? What are you looking
Sucks.
forward to?
Um, well, since I can talk about, I can make it a business thing. I am looking forward to, I would say it's not technically maybe this week, but I think in the next 7 days, I'll be wrapping up our invoicing and payments functionality for ProLine. And I'm really excited. This is the last, pretty much everything from here on out. Like, it's not that we're never going to add another feature, but we have all the big features in ProLine. And most of what we're going to be doing from here on out is going back and improvements. And those might be major improvements, like adding external booking pages for the calendar and stuff like that. But functionally, it's still an improvement, an iteration on the existing functionality that we have. And this is like that last big core feature that we have to add. And it's turning out. I mean, you and I have been talking ad nauseum about how to build this correctly to make invoicing as easy as possible for our users. And so I'm really excited to see that come together, and it's starting to look good. Like the UI is coming together, and I can see it. I can see that how the users are going to use it to bill. So I'm super excited about that.
Making it easy for customers to pay contractors.
Yep, that's right. That's the name of the game. And easy for contractors to send those invoices without having to, in the ideal, most of the time they're going to be able to basically send an invoice within 2 clicks and have it be correct based on the quote that has already been signed. You know, of course there's corrections that have to be made, but yeah, well, let's wrap it up. I forgot, did we say something at the very end here? Yeah, I guess just said more big roofs. That was our closing line. So all right, well, thanks, John. Hope you feel better, and we'll see everybody next week.